Simplify x to the power 9 over x to the power 2. Okay, so these kind of questions, when you divide, you just subtract the powers. So 9 take away 2 is just going to be x to the 7. That's it. B. Write 7 to the power 8 times 7 to the power 4 over 7 to the power 3 as a single power 7. Okay, so your answer has to be in terms of 7. Now to do this one, and it's just like the top one, when you multiply, you add the powers. So in this case, it would be 8 plus 4. On the top line, this will give us 7 to the 12. And we still got 7 to the 3 at the bottom. And then again, when you divide, you subtract the powers. So 12 take away 3 is 9. Therefore, we got 7 to the 9. And that's it. So moving on to number 2. It says change 32.4 meters cubed into centimeter cubed. Okay, before we tackle this one, we just need to record the fact that for every 1 meter, we get 100 centimeters. So essentially, we'll be multiplying the result by 100. So essentially, we need to multiply this value by 100 cubed because you're working in powers of 3. So that means 32.4 times 100 cubed will give us 32,400,000. And yep, all these zeros. And that's it, guys. That's your result in centimeter cubed. Now for number 3, it says show that 4 2/3 plus 3 4/4 will give us the right hand side. Now guys, you got to be careful. For these problems, you can never use a calculator to jump to that result. So what I personally do, I use a bit of a trick here. I end up using my calculator and a little mental working out. So first things first, guys, always exchange these into improper fractions, yeah? So to change this one to an improper fraction, the trick is to multiply the whole number with a denominator. So 4 times 3 and add it to the top. So that's going to give you 12 plus 2, which is 14, and that's over 3. Same thing for the next one. 3 times 5 is 15. Add 4 gives us 19. So that's 19 fifths. Now all you want to do is get common denominators. And the trick here is to make it over 15. So what I would do is look at both of them and multiply this left fraction up and down by 5. And this fraction up and down by 3. And doing so, well, 5 times 14 is going to give us 70 over 15. And the next one over 15, well, 19 times 3 will give us 57, guys. And now adding this result together, 70 plus 57, this should give us 127 by 15. And lastly, guys, all you got to do now is literally, well, just copy the answer. 8 and 7/15. Okay, now moving on to number 4. It says that the diagram shows a triangle. Now work out the value x. So this is just telling us that all angles in a triangle must add up to 180. So we just got to form an equation here. So doing all of this, adding up all of these 3 angles, guys, let's have a look. So going with x's first, we can say 4x plus x will give us a 5x. And as for the numbers, you got 10 plus 20 plus 30. That should give us 60. And we know for sure that all of these must sum up to 180 degrees. And at this stage, you just want to rearrange now. So what I would do is just minus 60 across. So we can get 5x equals 120. And then lastly, just divide that result by 5. And when you do that, you're going to get 24 degrees. Well, x is 24. All right, guys, number 5. So here we need to use rulers and compasses to construct the bisector of a given angle. And here we got to show all your construction lines. All right, so this is kind of like a common problem, yeah? And there's actually a certain way to do this. Unfortunately, I can't actually do this properly because I haven't got the right tools online to do it. But what I do have is a CGP book from the Kindle app. And let's check this one out for a second. We're going to explain step by step what I would recommend you doing, guys, yeah? So for this one, it says that an angle bisector splits a given angle exactly in half. In other words, bisector means 2 parts, guys. You end up with 2 equal angles. And the rule is to firstly keep the compass setting the same. In other words, when you plug in your pencil into your compass, which looks a bit like that, you have to make sure that you don't touch it again. So make sure you tighten it and don't move it again after that. And then 2, make sure you leave your compass mark showing. Now let's have a look and try and figure out what they mean here. Yeah? So first things first, you're given some kind of 2 lines like that kind of forms a triangle. I would firstly stick your needle over here from the compass, and then I would just swing the compass around. So if you swing it clockwise, it will move something like this. And then at this stage, you'll put like a little X on them. So probably put an X here and an X there. And then at this stage, you're going to move this compass and put the pin over here again. But this time you're going to swing it now. Swing it across. And then you're going to put this compass over here. And then swing it across till it looks like here. And then all you do is mark an X and then use a ruler and connect it with a line. So checking out on R1, what I would do, just a quick recap, put the pin of your compass here and then just swing it around, yeah, around B and C. So if you swing it, it will make like a clockwise movement like that. And the next thing you want to do with a different color pen, put the next compass on this point and then swing it once more. When you swing it, you'll probably make something like that. And then again, you want to put the compass now on the last point over here. And then you want to swing it once more. So swing it and you'll make another movement like that. And at this stage, guys, literally put an X on over here and then draw a straight line with a ruler, not like what I'm doing here. And what actually happens here is that you get two exactly equal angles. And that's it, guys. That's this question done. All right, number 6 now. So a bag contains only red beads, blue beads, green beads, and yellow beads. Now the table gives probabilities that when a bead is taken at random from the bag, the bead will be blue or the bead will be yellow. Okay, so all right, so what we're trying to say is that you're only given two values of in the table, and they probably want you to find red and green. Now the probability that the bead will be given, that the bead will be green, is twice the probability that the bead will be red. Okay, so before I read the rest of this, let's go ahead and fill out this table with this information. Now it's telling you that wherever you get for red, you know green is going to be 2 times bigger. So what I'll do, guys, I'll call red like X for now. And this means that green would have to be 2X. And another piece of information we need to know, guys, is that from every single probability question known to man, the sum of them must always equal 1, yeah? So we say that, okay, X plus 0.24 plus 2X plus the last one must give us a 1. And at this stage, we can kind of figure out what the probabilities here would be. So let's do it, guys. So let's add them up. So we can say that X plus 2X will give us 3X. We can say that 0.24 plus 0.31 will give us 0.55. And we know all of that equals 1. And now rearranging this carefully, I will subtract 0.55 to get 3x equals 0.45. And then I'll divide 3 across and I'll give us 0.15. And that's it. So since you know that red is X, which is 0.15, this means that this property here is going to be 0.15. And again, for 2x, this is just 2 times 0.15, which is going to be 0.30, yeah? So 0.30. Okay, so far so good. Now let's carry on the reading, guys, yeah? So it says that Sophia takes at random a bead from the bag. Now she writes down the color of the bead and puts the bead back in the bag. So in other words, you take it once and she drops it back in. So that means the probabilities don't change. She does this 180 times. Work out an estimate for the number of times she takes a red bead from the bag. See, the only thing I'm thinking in this question is the fact that she's taking a bead 180 times. That's a lot of free time there. So the probability of taking a red is 0.15. And because she does it 180 times, you just multiply them. So the answer would be 0.15 times 180. And when you put this in your calculator, guys, you should get 27. And that's it. All right, number 7. So A, solve the inequality. All right, this is actually really chilling. So all you got to do is just treat this inequality like an equal sign. So imagine it's 2x plus 7 equals 4. So then all you do is solve for x. So what I'll do, guys, is subtract 7 across. So we're going to get 2x is greater than, well, 4 take away 7 is minus 3. And then divided by 2. And then you'll be left with x greater than minus 3 over 2. You could leave it as a decimal or as a fraction. But they don't tell you, so leave it as a fraction, guys, yeah? Now for part B, it says solve this quadratic equation when it's equal to 0 and show clear algebraic working. All right, sweet. Then let's try that. So because you got quadratic equation, you should use the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula, guys, looks a bit like this. It's x equals minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And well, all you got to do is just drop the values in. Now looking at the equation, this tells us that you know, the general form is actually like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So essentially, you just look at the values in the equation. So here we got a is just nothing in front, so just a 1, b is minus 3, and c is minus 40. So substituting this in, because you've got to show your clear working, you're going to have minus 3, which is going to give you a plus 3, plus minus square root of b squared, so minus 3 squared is 9, minus 4 times a times c, and all of that over 2 times a. And yeah, guys, that's really it. And then when you drop this in the calculator, remember to write the plus here first and then repeat it with the minus sign. You should get x equals a or x equals negative 5. And that's it, guys. All right, number 8, let's do this. So the table shows the cost in euros of Bridget's car insurance in each of the years 2016, 17, and 18. Okay, so just look at this table. We've got the years and we've got the cost of insurance. And it looks like every single year is increasing by some amount. Now, Bridget says that the percentage increase in the cost of my car from 2017 to 18 is more than the percentage increase in the cost of my car insurance from 16, 17. So what it's trying to say here is that the percentage increase from these 2 years is apparently bigger than these 2 years. So we're going to try and figure out if that's true or not. Is Bridget correct? You must show how you get your answer. Okay, so all you essentially got to do, guys, is literally figure out the rate between both of this, yeah? Now, the best way to find the rate is to use this formula, which is the OV-NV formula. So we say that it's always the original value times some multiply, so 1 plus r must give us some new value, okay? Essentially, we just want to find what the value r is, because we know what the old values and new values are. Like for 2016 to 17, the old value would be 500, and the new value would be 545. So before I calculate this, let's go ahead and make r the subject, guys, and then we just pop in the values. So first things first, divide OV across, and then minus by 1. You should get a rate of NV over OV minus 1. And essentially, when you put this in, you'll get a decimal answer. So let's do 2016-17 first, yeah? So that means in this year, we can say that the value of r is going to equal, 545, which is the new value, over the old value of 500, and then subtract that by 1, and you should get 0.09. And because you want, I don't know, maybe a percentage, if you times this by 100, this should become 9%. So that's cool, yeah? So that's the first bit done. Now, how about for the next one? So between 17 to 18, yeah? In this case, we now have a new value of 592 over the old value of 545. So we say 592 divided by 545, subtract that by 1, guys, and you should get a decimal answer of roughly 0.086. And again, switch that to percentage, times it by 100, you should get 8.6%. Now, since we got our rates, let's check out what Bridget was saying then. So she claimed that blah blah, that the cost of insurance was from the second period, in other words, the last period, is more than the first period. Well, we can see in the second period is 8.6%, whereas in the first period is only 9%. So, well, actually it was 9%. So actually it's false. 8.6 is less than 9. So the answer is no. And that's it. That's your conclusion. Now on the next bit, or the last bit actually, Henry wants to insure his car now. He gets a discount of 15% off the normal price. Okay, so we're still going to use this kind of formula, OV to MV. Now, Henry pays 952 euros for his car insurance after the discount. So this would be his new value. So we don't know what it was before the original value. Work out the discount that Henry gets. Okay, before we answer this question, let's formulate an equation, yeah? Let's stick with this formula. But the difference now is that instead of increasing it, we're going to now subtract. We're going to decrease because it says it's a discount, yeah? So we don't add 15%, we drop it by 15. So it's now going to be OV times 1 minus 15%, or that's also 0.15. And that's going to equal a new value of 952. Now what I would do, guys, I mean, if you subtract this, you're going to get 0.85. And if you divide it across, you're going to have OV equals 952 over this bracket here, which is 0.85. Put this in the calculator, and you'll realize that the original value of the car before you insured it was 1,120 euros. Now, you'd think this is the answer, guys, but it actually isn't, because that's not a discount. That's the original price. And this 952 is the new value. The discount is actually the difference, like the difference between the new and the old. So if you subtract this value with this value, you'll be left with a discount of 168 euros. And that's it, guys. I just want to thank you guys for coming to this end of my channel, and if you've enjoyed the content so far, just go into my channel page, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for more notifications, and if you want, you can do personalized or all, and that way you won't miss any future maths or educational videos. Anyway guys, thank you for watching and see you next time. Ciao. The density of gold is 19.3 grams per centimeter cubed, and a gold bar has volume 150 centimeter cubed. Work out the mass of this gold bar. Okay, so for this question, we need to know that density equals mass over volume. So we always go relate the three variables, yeah? If you guys find it hard to memorize this formula, like a nice little trick I always look at is the fact that on the first line, it says that the density of gold is 19.3 grams, which is a mass, and it's over some kind of volume, which is centimeter cubed, so m over v. So that's one way to look at it. Now, to find the mass, you literally just go and make m the subject. So to make m the subject, because you're dividing by v, I would times v across. So it's going to be volume times density, which will give us mass. Then all you want to do, guys, is just pop in the values. So volume is 150, density is 90.3. If you multiply those two values together, you're going to get a mass of 2,895 grams. And that's it. Now for 10, it says change a speed of 50 meters per second, as in per 1 second, to speed in kilometers per hour. Okay, so to get these units right, let's just think about it for a second. To go from 50 meters to kilometers, we need to remember that for 1 kilometer, we would have 1,000 meters. So to go backwards, we need to divide by 1,000. Okay, so we can say we're going to have 50 over 1,000 kilometers. I mean, we could leave it as a fraction, guys. You don't have to think too hard. Now for 1 second, we can imagine we've got 1 second. To go from seconds to hour, well, we need to also realize that there are 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. So basically we have 60 times 60. So essentially we have 1 over 60 squared hours. Okay, or you can think of it as 1 over 60 times 60. And that's it, guys. And then if you want, you could calculate this, but you can just go ahead and solve the question. So because you want 50 meters per second, that's basically saying 50 meters per second is the same as, well, this many kilometers. So what's that? 50 divided by 1,000 kilometers over, so per hour. So hour, we have 1 over 60 squared hours. So 1 divided by 60 squared hours. And yeah, guys, now at this stage, you literally just pop this in a calculator. Remember to use a fraction button and write another fraction on top and another fraction at the bottom. And when you put this carefully in, you should get an answer of 180 kilometers per hour. And that's it, guys. All right, number 11. So the diagram shows a shaded shape ABCD made from a semicircle ABC and a right angle triangle ACD. Okay, so a right angle triangle here and then half a circle here. Now AC is the diameter of the semicircle ABC, so AC is this part here, so that means half of it would be a radius. And they want us to work out the perimeter of the whole shape, so from D all the way around here, guys, yeah? So just look at this here. To work out the perimeter, we will need to find the length of this curved region, yeah? So from A, B to C. Now to get this, we need to firstly realize that because you're dealing with circles, we need the circumference formula, yeah? So we should know that the circumference of any circle, so the length around it, is 2 pi r, yeah? Now because you got half a circle, so we can say that circumference of, let's say, length ABC, yeah, is going to be half of your formula. So instead of 2 pi r, it would just be 1 pi r, or just pi r, okay? Now to work out the radius, first things first, we need to figure out what this length of AC is, yeah? And then half it. Now, because you've got a right angle triangle, we can use Pythagoras Theorem, yeah? So let's just call this length x for now, yeah? Now to use Pythagoras theorem, it's literally a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is your hypotenuse here. So essentially this is your a, this is your b, and this is your c. So putting in the formula, we can say a squared plus b squared, so that's x squared plus 15 squared must give us 17 squared, guys, yeah? And then all you want to do is make x a subject. So what I'll do 17 squared take away 15 squared, so it'll be something like this, x squared equals 17 squared minus 15 squared. Put this exact in the calculator, and by the way guys, this is not going to give you 2 squared, yeah? So try not to subtract the numbers, just write as you see, and then square root your answer, something like this, and you should get a result of 8. So that means AC is 8 centimeters, yeah? So x equals 8, so AC equals 8. Because you want the radius of AC, guys, this means you want half of AC, which is just 4. So R here equals 4 centimeters. And now because you know R is 4, literally we just replace it into this formula. So we can say that the circumference of half a circle is just pi times 4, which is 4 pi, guys, yeah? So all of this around is just 4 pi. And yeah, we're pretty much done. So we can say now, okay, therefore the perimeter is going to be 4 pi plus 15 plus 17. So we can write here, perimeter is 4 pi plus your other lengths, 15 and 17, and plus 17, and then putting this in the calculator, you should get exactly 44.6 centimeters. If you guys don't have a pi button, you can use the value 3.14, but it's recommended that you guys have a scientific calculator, yeah? Otherwise this question could be a bit like annoying. Alright, 12. Astrid wants to buy some oil. Now she can buy oil from either the Dane Oil or Arctic Oil Company. Now here's some information about the price that each company will charge Astrid. Okay, so it looks over here that she's going to pay 4.2, she's going to have 4.2 times 10 to the power 5 liters of Dane oil for that many krones. And this is a Norwegian currency, by the way, guys, yeah? And for Arctic oil, she'll get that many liters for quite a lot of dollars. Okay, so just a quick recap here. This many liters is just literally, if you put this in a calculator, you should have about 420,000 liters. So that's a really huge amount. So this is for our companies. Now Astrid wants to get the better value for money for the oil. Now according to this currency rate, $1 if it's US dollar equals 6.57 krones. Now looking at both of this, from which company should she buy her oil? Either Dane Oil or Arctic Oil. You must show your working. Alright, so the most important thing for these kind of questions is not the fact that you're dealing with standard form. It's the fact that we should always make sure our currencies are in the same units, yeah? So I recommend that we change krones to dollars. You could go dollars to krones, but for the purposes, we're going to go from krones to dollars. Now, if you're going from a bigger number to a smaller number, you always divide by the rate. So in this case, we're going to do 2.5 million divided by 6.57, yeah? So in our calculator, guys, let's start working this out. So for Dane Oil, we can say that the cost of this is going to be 2,500,000 krones divided by the exchange rate, and this should give us a dollar's equivalent, yeah, which is about $380,000 and 517.5 dollars, yeah. So that's how much it costs for that, for 4.2 times 10 to the power 5 liters, yeah. Now the question is, how do you know which one's the better rate? So at this stage, because now we've got the same money, we should go ahead and divide the quantity by the dollar value and see how many liters you get per dollar. So we can say, okay, at this stage, under the Dane company, we got 4.2 times 10 to the power 5 liters. So we write that down. So always leave your answer exactly as you see, yeah, and divide it by your calculator answer, yeah. So for this value, I'm going to put this here, 380,517.5. And when you do this, you should get a dollar value of roughly 1.10376, something like that, liters per dollar, yeah? So that's how many liters you'll get for every $1. Now, we repeat the same for Arctic oil, yeah? So for the Arctic case, well, because we're already working in dollars, we can go ahead and divide these two values. So 8.6 times 10 to the power 5 divided by that value, yeah? Divided by the cost, which was $770,000. And when you do this, you're going to get a rate of 1.11688 liters per dollar. And from here we can kind of see which one gives you more for your money. So we can see that for the Arctic case, you're going to get a bit more liters for every single dollar that you get. So in this case, you should buy oil from Arctic Oil. That's it. And we're done. All right, 13. So here we got 4 points on a circle with center O. AOD is the diameter of a circle, so the line cutting across here is the diameter. Angle CBD is 28, so this is 28, and angle BDA is 32, so this one's also 32. Now they want us to find the size of angle BDC. Now BDC is located here. You start from B, you stretch down to D, and you go to C. So there's an angle between them, so it has to be this one here. We can just call that one X for now, yeah? Also, give a reason for each stage you're working. Alright, so for this kind of question, like before we even look at it, it's probably important to know what kind of properties we're looking at, yeah? Now, this is the kind of ones that I personally recommend. So, flicking on this page, we're looking at these two shapes, guys, yeah? It says for number 6, the angle in a semicircle is 90 degrees. So, what it's trying to say here, if you got a diameter or a line that cuts through the center of the circle perfectly, and you've got lines coming off it, you can make a bunch of right angle triangles. So in our case, we can just look at the shape here. We got AOD, which is a perfect diameter, and just cutting through A, you got right angle triangle here. So this means that this is therefore right angled, yeah? Now to give a reason for that, you can literally say the angle in a semicircle is 90 degrees. So that'll be it. So literally angle ACD is 90 degrees. You can literally write that explanation as we go along. Now, the second point here is this recognizes kind of ribbon shape here. Yeah? Now, this ribbon shape takes the form of this kind of shape here. So it says that angles in the same segment are equal. What that tells you, like that, a segment is basically a partition, yeah? Like anything before the chord is a segment, anything after this chord is another segment. So we've got a massive segment here and a little tiny segment here. And anything that forms a ribbon have the same angle. So check this out. You got, if this was like 10, this would be 10. If this was 20, this would be 20. And also the fact that adding these two opposite segments can add up to 180. But we don't have to worry about that for now. In this case, what we're trying to say here, if this is 28, this must also be 28. So we can put 28 here. If this one's 32, this one's also 32. So we put 32 here as well. Now, finally, I think we have a lot of information here. So to find X, we can just look at this triangle here now, yeah? So B, C to D. If we just like tidy this up a bit, guys, yeah? So I'm going to redraw this triangle here. So something like that. We know that from our point B, we got 28. So this is 28 degrees. Now, if you look carefully at C, we got one big angle. We got 32 plus 90. That should be what? 32 plus 90, 122, yeah? So this is 122 degrees. Therefore, angle X, which is at D, which is what they want, is going to be the leftover. So call this X. It's just going to be 28 plus 122, which is 150 degrees. And then to get to 180, you need to add 30 more. So that means X must be 30. So the answer here is 30 degrees. All right, number 14. So there are 20 glasses in a cupboard. Now 13 of them are large and the rest are small. Roberto takes at random 2 glasses from the cupboard. Okay, to complete the probability tree diagram. So let's have a look here. So it says here that if you took a large one, well, we know there's 13 and there's 20 together. So that means the probability must be 13 over 20. And we know for small, there are 7 out of 20. Now, if we go to the next tree, because if we took a glass out of the cupboard, this means we now are left with 19. Okay, that's what we're left with. So because you took a large out, you now have 12 large left, but you still have 7 on the top because you didn't touch the large. However, if you went downwards, if you took a small cup, you had 7, you would now have 6 left out of 19. Because you didn't touch the large previously, you would have 13 remaining out of 19. And yeah, guys, that's literally it for A. Now for B, work out the probability that Roberto takes 2 small glasses. So to take 2 small glasses, just follow the tree where it says small, small. So you take a small with a probability 720, and the small again, the property is 6 over 19. And when you're going through the same tree, when you're chaining things together, you always multiply them, guys, yeah? So it'll be 7 over 20 times 6 over 19. And if you just put this in your calculator, you get 21 over 190. And yep, that's it. Alright, here are 6 graphs, guys, from number 15. Now you got graphs A, B, C, D, E, F. And before we look at the question, I think it's a good idea to probably figure out what kind of graphs they are, yeah? So starting from graphs A, when you have a shape in this form, so you have something that never touches the x-y axis, this is known as a graph which is a reciprocal, or 1 over x. Now if you look at graph E, it looks kind of the same as graph A, except now that these curves which were on this positive axis and negative axis have flipped it upside. Because of that, this is basically a y equals minus 1 over x. So if it flips it upside, just take a minus sign, yeah? And again, if you look at graphs C and D, they're kind of the same. Now C is similar to A and E. The only difference is, instead of one of them being down, they're both up. Because they're both up, it means it's being squared. So it means y equals 1 over x squared. Anything squared means you always get positive results. Now D is the same as C. It's being flipped downwards, so it's kind of symmetrical. So this would be y equals minus 1 over x squared. And lastly, for graph B and F, this is kind of a weird shape, but this is actually a cubic graph. When it looks a bit like that, it's cubic. So this would be, which one's which? So this would be y equals x cubed, and this is reflected y equals negative x cubed. Yeah, I think, yeah, we'll leave it like that for now. So next one, complete the table below with the letter of the graph that could represent each given equation. Okay. Oh yeah, by the way, I use the values of 1, by the way. Just, it doesn't matter because these are just constants. You could put any number, the graphs will still kind of look the same. Now, for the first one, it says y equals 2 over x squared. So this is like a 1 over x squared graph. So we're talking about C. So this is just C. For this case, you got a negative something x cubed. Well, negative x cubed was B. And lastly, you got a reciprocal, negative something over x. Well, something over x was minus something over x was E. And yeah, that's literally it for this question. Make x the subject of y. Okay, so what we need to do here, guys, is to get rid of the square root, and the opposite of square rooting is squaring both sides. So what I'm trying to say here is that we're now going to have y squared equals x plus 1 over x minus 4. Okay, now at this stage we want to always clear the fraction, yeah, because when you have a fraction it makes it a bit more complicated. So to clear x minus 4, we need to multiply x minus 4 across, and this means we're now going to get y squared times x minus 4 wrapped in a bracket equals the right side, x plus 1. Now let's go ahead and expand this. So we're going to now get y squared times x is xy squared minus 4y squared equals x plus 1. Now, because you want to make x subject, we want to move all the x terms on one side and the non-x terms on the other. So for instance, we're going to move this x to the left, we're going to move minus 4y squared to the right. So to do that, we're going to add 4y squared and minus x. So we're going to have something like xy squared, take away x equals 1 plus 4y squared. Okay? So now we need to isolate x, and to do that, guys, we need to factorize x out, and we're left with y squared minus 1 equals 1 plus 4y squared. And then to get x a subject, just divide y squared minus 1 across, and you're left with x equals 1 plus 4y squared all over y squared minus 1. And you're done. 17. Prove that the difference between two consecutive square numbers is always an odd number. Show clear algebraic working. Okay, when they say two consecutive square numbers, that means one square number after another. An example of this, guys, is like 2 squared and then 3 squared. And then you want to find the difference between them. So like 3 squared minus 2 squared. Okay. Now, because you want to do it in algebraic terms, you just go write this in terms of n or x or something. So let's say, okay, let's treat 3 as n, yeah? So we can say we have n squared, because that's your common square number, and you want to minus it by a term before it. So before n squared, we're going to have n minus 1, yeah? So it's always going down in ones. because the difference between 3 and 2 is 1. And all you have to do now, guys, is literally expand this and then just simplify it, literally. So expanding this carefully, we're going to now have n squared minus, so n minus 1 squared, that's just literally n minus 1 times n minus 1, okay? So over here, so you're going to multiply this out carefully. You got n times n. So what I'll do, I'll just put a little bracket here, guys, because you got a negative before it. You're going to get n squared, and then n times minus 1 is minus n, and then minus 1 times n is another minus n, and then you're going to get plus 1. And then simplifying this quickly, minus n take away n is going to give us minus 2n. So that all becomes n squared minus 2n plus 1. Now at this stage, you're going to have to expand this again. We're going to now have, therefore, n squared take away. And because you got a minus sign before the bracket, flip all the signs, yeah? So you're going to get minus n squared plus 2n minus 1. And then cancelling like terms, n squared take away n squared is 0. You're just left with 2n minus 1. And that's it, guys. And to show that this is an odd term, well, odd terms are always 2n minus 1. An even term is always 2n. Okay, so these are the two things to spot. If you got 2n minus 1, then you've got it. This is clearly an odd term. And we're done. Alright, 18. The histogram gives information about the times in minutes that some customers spend in a supermarket. Okay, so on the x-axis we've got the time spent in minutes, and on the y-axis we've got the frequency density. And if you look at each of these blocks, this is the number of customers. So once you work out the area, then we know how many each customer spent under a certain time period. Now for part A, they want us to work out an estimate for the proportion of these customers, so in other words a fraction, who spent between 17 and 35 minutes. Now before we actually solve this question, let's go ahead and work out the areas of each of these blocks so we can find out how many customers were in each time period, yeah? So for the first block, for example, we can see that the width here is 10 and the height here is about 0.7, yeah? So we can say that the area of the block, which is just like a rectangle, so 10 times 0.7 is just 7. For the next one, we can see that the width is 5 and the height is what? 3.4, yeah? So let's put 3.4 height. This means that 5 times 3.4 is going to give us 17. So that's the area of this block. And then the next block, I think the width is, it's a bit sneaky. So it goes up to 24. So it's between 15 and 24. So the width is 9. So it'll be 9 times 1, which is 9. For the next one, guys, we've got a width of 6 times 2.5. That should give us 15. Okay, so just use your calculators, yeah? And for the last one, so we've got a width from 30 all the way to 45, yeah? So this is 15 times 4.8. And 15 times 4.8, and I'm just doing that now, gives us 72. Okay, so now looking at all these figures, yeah? So I'm just going to delete that right now. We can see that the total frequency here, so the area of all the blocks, if you add them all up, should give us a total of 120 customers, yeah? So that's how many people were here. So going back to the question, they want us to find the proportion of customers that spend between 17 and 35 minutes, okay? So we just need to find out where 17 is and where 35 is. So just delete these numbers for a second, guys. Well, we can see that 17 is somewhere over here, yeah? So it's actually close to 20. And we know that 35 is actually here. So this long line going up. So this long bar here. Okay, so just doing it carefully. Okay, and now all you want to do is essentially find the areas of each of these blocks now. Well, we did this block earlier and we got 15 over here. And now for this block here, it's now a width of what? From 17 to 24. That has a width of 7. So just put a width of 7 and has a height of 1. 1 times 7 is 7. And for the last block, the width is 5. 30 to 35 is 5. And the height is 4.8. So it's going to be 5 times 4.8. And that gives us 24. And now finally, guys, all you do is literally add these numbers up. So 7 plus 15 plus 24. That should give us an answer of 46. So therefore, the proportion is going to be 46 out of the total number, which is 120. And that's it for A. Now for B, one of the customers is selected at random. Given that this customer has spent more than 30 minutes in the supermarket, so what they're trying to say here is that this customer spent some time in this block, so it's one of these 72. find the probability that this same customer, so out of 72, spent more than 36 minutes. So because we know it's in that block, we know immediately that the probability is going to be out of 72, yeah? Now, let's find the area which covers more than 36. So more than 36 implies that, well, 36 is over here. We're trying to find this block going all the way up on the right-hand side, yeah? So all of this block on the right. So looking at this, we know it's between 36 and 45. We know the difference between these two has a width of 9. And we know the height is 4.8. So essentially, it's just 9 times 4.8. And wherever that area is, so 9 times 4.8, sorry, we then divide it over 72. And when you guys do this, you should get a probability of 0.6. And that's it, guys. That's B done. All right, 19a. Write down an equation of a line that is parallel to the line with this equation. Okay, every time you get a straight line equation, guys, always think of y equals mx plus c. Okay, and in this case, m is always the gradient and c is always the y-intercept. Now, when you have parallel lines, all that literally means is that the lines are going in the same direction. In other words, the gradient is the same. Okay, now to get the same gradient, and if you look at this equation, let's rewrite this in that form, yeah? So we're going to have y equals minus 4x plus 7. So same gradient means m value is the same. Check. So we're going to have y equals minus 4x. And now all you need is a different y-intercept, yeah? So for example, we can say plus 2 or even minus 3 or anything is good. So this is just one example. Now for the next bit, it says that the line L passes through the points with coordinates minus 3, 1 and 2, minus 2, okay? Find an equation of the line that is perpendicular to L. So again, like parallel meant same gradient, perpendicular means the gradient has been flipped, yeah? Has a negative reciprocal. We're going to get to that. And passes through the points of coordinates minus 6, 4. Give your answer in this form. Okay, so essentially we're dealing with straight line equations. So always think again of y equals mx plus c. Now the first thing you want to find out is the gradient, yeah? Every time we get 2 points, we can easily calculate the gradient. Well, the gradient in this case of the line L is going to be the change in y over the change in x coordinates. So all you do is look at your y coordinates. So we've got minus 2 and 1, subtract them. So minus 2 take away 1. And again, subtract the x, it will be 2 take away minus 3. So 2 minus bracket minus 3. And then when you put this in a calculator, you should get minus 3 over 5. Now, this is the gradient of the line L. Yeah? So for the perpendicular line, we need to flip this gradient. So we say, okay, the new gradient, let's call it MP, yeah, perpendicular, is going to be, well, you flip the sign, so it'll be a positive, and then you flip this upside down, so it'll be 5 over 3, okay? And that's it. So what that essentially means is that for the new line, we now have an equation which is y equals, instead of mx, is going to be 5 over 3x, and then plus c. So now we're almost done. Now it also tells us that this particular line passes through this point, minus 6 and 4. So let's go ahead and pop this in, yeah? Let's replace the x value with minus 6 and the y value of 4. So we say at minus 6, 4, we're now going to get 4 equals 5 over 3 times minus 6 plus c. So literally, you just got to solve for c. So expanding this one and solving for c, you're going to get 4 equals, well, 5 times minus 6 is minus 30 over 3, and then you got plus c. And then just doing a quick maths, just plus this to the other side. So in your calculator, you're going to write 4 plus minus 30 over 3, and you're going to get a c value of, well, I'll do it here, 14. So all that tells us now is that your c value over here is 14. So our equation gets updated to y equals 5 over 3x, so 5 over 3x plus 14. And usually this would be it. You actually found your equation. But what they want, guys, is to rewrite this equation in that kind of form, yeah? Where a, b, c are integers. In other words, no fractions, and you got to start with x, y, and a constant, and it has to equal 0. So all you got to do is firstly clear the fraction, and what I'll do is times this by 3. So you're going to get something like 3y equals 5x, and 14 times 3 is 42. And then rearrange it so you have everything equal to 0. So I'm going to minus 3y in. So you're going to get 5x minus 3y plus 42, and then all of that now equals 0. And you're done. Alright, 20. So the area of a rectangle is 18 centimeters squared. The length of one of its sides is root 7 plus 1 centimeters. Okay, so you got sirs here. Without using a calculator and showing each stage of your working, find the width of that rectangle. Okay. So you got a rectangle problem. So what I would recommend, guys, is firstly sketch the rectangle, yeah? So draw something like this. Label one of its lengths. So the length was root 7 plus 1. So that goes here. Root 7 plus 1. And we know the area of this rectangle is 18. So write 18 inside. And they want us to find the width. So let's call that W. Now, to find the width, again, we got all the information. So all we do is just calculate it, literally write an expression for the area of a rectangle. Well, the area of a rectangle is just the base times the width times the length. So it's just going to be W times root 7 plus 1. And it's going to give you an area of 18. And to find W, just make W the subject. So dividing root 7 plus 1 across, you can get W equals 18 over root 7 plus 1. Now this is the part where it seems a bit weird now, because now they want us to give your answer in this particular form. And actually, if we look at it carefully, it looks to me like there's no fraction. So what they did, they've rationalized it. So this is kind of a secret rationalizing question. And well, to fix this up, and you can't use a calculator, we got to somehow deal with the fraction below, yeah? And what I recommend, guys, is that when you have sirs, you're always going to times up and down by its opposite. So instead of root 7 plus 1, you're going to times up and down by root 7 minus 1, yeah? What happens here is that it actually cancels out the bottom. Now doing this, and always put a bracket around these guys, let's go ahead and just expand it out now. So on the next line, you're going to have 18 times the top half. It's just going to be, well, just keep it as 18 bracket root 7 minus 1 for now, yeah? And on the bottom line, you're going to have root 7 times root 7, which is a whole 7. You're going to have root 7 times minus 1, which is minus root 7. So this is kind of like a double bracket problem, yeah? Just expand it term by term. And again, 1 times root 7 is plus root 7. And the last one, 1 times minus 1 is minus 1. So now you guys could just use a calculator and get the result at the bottom. If you just put in a calculator, you're just going to get 18 root 7 minus 1. And on the bottom, you're going to get 6. And then you can see that 18 over 6 cancel out, and you're just going to get 3. Well, 3 bracket root 7 minus 1. And now, guys, I recommend you expand it. So now you're going to get 3 root 7 take away 3. And yeah, we're done. And we got the form they want. You got a constant, you got a number, square root of a number, and another number. And yeah. The diagram shows a sketch of part of the curve of equation y equals fx. Okay, so this is an upside down quadratic graph. Now there is one maximum point on the curve, which is 4, 6, and the coordinates of this maximum point is given. Write down the coordinates of the maximum point on the curve with the following equations. Right, so we got y equals f and then x plus 4. So all this essentially means, guys, is that if this was fx, then x plus 4 means that all the x coordinates get shifted by minus 4, yeah? So if it says plus 4 in the bracket, you do the opposite. So 4, 6 becomes 0, 6, okay? And for y equals f2x, again, you do the opposite. Instead of multiplying by 2, this means you're going to half every x coordinate by 2. So half of 4 is just 2. So it's going to be 2 and 6. Now for the next bit, the equation of a curve C is y equals x squared plus 3x plus 4. Now this curve is transformed to curve S, so a new curve, under the following translation. Okay, so when they give you this kind of form, this is a vector, and the top value means that the x coordinate has shifted to the right by plus 4, and the y coordinate has shifted upwards by plus 6. If it was negative, then it will be a left shift and a downshift, yeah? Okay, find an equation of curve S. Okay, so this kind of relates to what we did earlier, yeah? Now, if you just imagine that this function they gave us is now y equals, let's say fx, yeah? Like a general function. What actually happens here is that now all the x's here would be fx minus 4, and then this y would be y minus 6. Just like it did here, it's always the opposite sign, yeah? So essentially, we now have an equation that has, well, instead of y, it will be bracket y minus 6 equals, instead of these x's, you're now going to have bracket x minus 4 squared plus 3 times x minus 4, and then of course plus 4. Now it says here you do not need to simplify the equation, so yeah, you could just literally leave like that, and yeah, we're done. Now moving to question 22, it says that the line with equation y equals x plus 2 intersects a curve with equation x squared plus y squared minus 2y equals 24. Okay, so this is actually a circle equation at the points A and B. Find the coordinates of A and B. Okay, so keywords here. When something is intersecting, you solve them simultaneously. Yeah, that's literally the big thing to do. So all I would do, guys, is literally just substitute this linear equation to this equation here. Yeah. The easiest way to do this now, if you just look at it, you could just smash it head on. Okay, I'll just substitute y into both of them directly. So what we would have here is x squared plus, now instead of y squared, we're gonna have x plus 2 squared. Yeah, so let's put that here, minus again 2 times x plus 2, and has to equal 24. Now guys, yeah, just looking at the functions here, we just have to now simplify this carefully. So what we have, we got x squared plus, now expanding this x plus 2 squared, this is just a double bracket, guys. Yeah, so it's x plus 2 times x plus 2, and you just do the same thing, you times it term by term. When you do that, you should get x squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay, for the second bit now, you got minus 2 times x, which is minus 2x, and you got minus 2 times 2, which is minus 4. So just expand our bracket, and all that must equal 24. Now at this stage, we're just gonna have to collect like terms. Yeah, so just combining things, you got x squared and s squared, that's gonna give us 2 lots of x squares, plus you got 4x take away 2x is 2x, 4 take away 4 is 0, and then minus 24 across, you get minus 24, and it has to equal 0. So every time you have a quadratic looking equation, always set it to 0. Yeah, so you can use the quadratic formula. Now before we even pop in the formula, let's try and simplify this equation. Yeah, so just halving the whole thing, you get x squared plus x minus 12, and then yeah, now we could just use a quadratic formula. If you guys are feeling lazy sometimes and don't want to use a formula, you could just factorize it. Yeah, so factorizing means you get 2 brackets, and because you want to find an x squared type equation, we have to put x's in both the beginning. Yeah, because x times x is x squared. Now we need 2 numbers that multiply to make it 12. Well, the 2 numbers I can think of right now are 3 and 4, and both of these numbers must have a difference of 1 to represent a 1x. Yeah, well, 3 and 4 satisfies. Yeah, because 3 and 4 multiplied makes 12. 3 and 4 has a difference of 1, so you just put that there. And well, to get a positive one, it needs to be a plus. It needs to be 4 take away 3, so plus 4 minus 3. So plus 4 take away 3 gives us plus 1, and therefore, guys, if x minus 3 equals 0, then this means that x equals plus 3, and if x plus 4 equals 0, then x equals minus 4. Again, we could have used a quadratic formula, so you got literally 2 ways to do this. Yeah, and we're almost done. So it wanted us to find the coordinates A and B, right? Well, we got with the x coordinates. Now to get the y coordinates, just pop in these 2 x values in either equation. Obviously you want to pick the easiest one. Yeah, so let's pick y equals x plus 2. That means when x is 3, y is going to be 3 plus 2, which is 5. So y here is 5, so that's 1 pair. And now for the second pair, when x is minus 4 plus 2 is minus 2. So y here equals minus 2. And that's it, guys, we're done. Now just to make it clear as a coordinate, always label it step like this. Yeah, you can say, for instance, the a coordinate is, I don't know, 3 and 5, and the b coordinate is minus 4 minus 2, and that's it. All right, number 23. So ABC is a triangle. The midpoint of BC is M. So we're talking about this point here cutting exactly halfway through. And P is a point on AM. So it's not exactly halfway, so we're looking at some kind of ratio. Now they give us some known vectors where if you go from A to B, we can call this a direction of 4A. If you go from A to C, it's 2B. And they give us an actual expression from A to P, which is given by this fraction here. And here they want us to find the ratio of AP to PM. Okay, so guys, before we even attempt to solve the question, it's always a good idea to try and work out as many vectors as you can. So try and work out the distances right now. So what I'll do straight away, guys, is try and work out any remaining things, yeah? So for instance, we got A to B and A to C. Well, so we can see that we can find B to C. So for instance, if you go from B to C, you can take any possible route. So let's go through minus 4a. So if you go backwards through the arrow, it will become negative. Minus 4a plus 2b. So that's how to get the B to C. And then another thing we can note is that M is the midpoint of B to C. So what that essentially means, guys, if you want to go from B to M, that's exactly half the distance from B to C, right? So we say that's half of B to C. So all you do is literally half BC. So half of BC is just minus 2a plus b. And when you do that, you can just write an arrow here. So an arrow from B to M, which is minus 2a plus b. Okay, good. My recommendation, guys, is to always write it in alphabetical order. Try not to make it look nice. Just keep it A's and B's, yeah? Now you've done that. And oh yeah, of course, this would be the same too, because you're moving in the same direction. If you're moving in the exact same direction with the same length, it has to be the exact same vector length, yeah? So minus 2a plus b. Now, another thing they mentioned earlier is that a to p is already given, but they want us to find its actual ratio, right? So what we could say here is, okay, we could say that a to p is probably some scale factor of a to m. So let's write that here. A to p equals some scale factor, let's call it k, of a to m. Okay, now we need to figure out what the scale factor is so we can complete the ratio. Now, looking around here, let's try and find some equations, yeah? If we know what b to m is, maybe we can try and figure out what a to m is so we can kind of deal with the scale factor. Well, to go from a to m is essentially, well, from any direction, we can go up this route and down this route. So it's going to be 4a, and then you're going to add minus 2a plus b. So we can say, okay, therefore, going from a to m, that's just going to be 4a plus minus 2a plus b. So minus 2a plus b. And that simplifies to 2a plus b. So that's literally a to m. So to find AP, we can substitute that over here. So therefore, AP equals k times 2a plus b. Expanding the bracket, you're going to get 2ka plus kb. And now looking at the vector they gave us, the default one, we can literally match them. So essentially it's saying that 3 over 2 must equal 2k, isn't it? So 2k must equal 3 over 2, and k here must equal the vector b, 3 over 4. Well, actually, it's actually not so bad because we actually found k just by doing that. So if k is 3 over 4, what that's telling us is that AP is 3/4 of a to m. So if you imagine this length as being 3/4 of the whole length, then this little p to m must be 1/4. So it's like 3 parts to 1 part. So that's it. We've solved the question. The ratio from AP to PM is just 3 to 1. And we're done. Okay, number 24. Express these fractions here as one single fraction in its simplest form. Okay, so when you guys look at algebraic fractions, it does look a little bit intimidating if you're not too sure. But there's always an easy way to do this if we just try and follow the fraction rules. Now, what I recommend, guys, is that we're going to do this one step at a time. So I'm going to just look at the things inside the bracket first. So let's ignore the division part, yeah? Now, when you're subtracting fractions, the rule of subtraction or addition is that it must have a common denominator, yeah? When we talk about common, we're talking about the whole block, 2x minus 5 on both sides and 2x minus 3 on the other side. So essentially, looking at both, one thing you do not want to do, guys, is literally change this 3 to a minus 5 by, subtracting 2. If you do that, you'll get it wrong for sure. So what I recommend, if this has 2x minus 5, let's times up and down on the right by 2x minus 5. So this here gets bulked up by times 2x minus 5. And this right side will be times by 2x minus 3. So it looks something like this. This fraction now becomes, 4 times 2x minus 3 over, 2x minus 5 like it had. And the new thing it now has. Whereas the second fraction is now 3 times 2x minus 5 over 2x minus 3. and the new one 2x minus 5. So just looking at carefully, we have literally perfect common denominators. Now the second thing to know, guys, is to never expand the bottom half. There's literally no point, because the aim is to try and reduce it, yeah? So now, because they got common denominators, you can literally connect the top lines. So this means we've got 4 times this, subtract those lot, yeah? So I'm just going to do it in one line. So we've got 4 times 2x minus 3, subtract 3 times 2x minus 5. And all over the common denominator of 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 5. Now, tidying this up a bit, guys, expanding both brackets, you're going to get 4 times these lot, which is 8x minus 12, take away. Now, because you got minus sign, don't forget to flip the signs, yeah, when you expand. Well, you got 3 times 2 is 6x, it'll be minus 6x. And you got 3 times minus 5 is minus 15. With the minus becomes plus 15. Again, all over the same thing. So I'm just going to do it like this for now. Now, tidying up the top half here, it's going to be 8x, take away 6x, which is 2x. So we're going to have something like 2x, and then minus 12 plus 15 is plus 3. All of that over 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 5. Okay, I was kind of hoping this would be a minus 3 so we can cancel it, but can't right now, yeah? So always, always double check if everything's good, yeah? But at the moment, this is what we have. So now we've actually tidied up this fraction here. We can now divide by the next bit. So let's stick it on, yeah? So let's just call this bit A, yeah? So it's always good to partition your work. So we'll call this A. Now we're going to deal with B, yeah? So we can say, all right, back to business now. We got A divided by B. So that's telling us now that we got our original fraction, which we just did, 2x plus 3 over 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 5. Now, when you divide a fraction, guys, yeah, we always have to remember that we have the KFC method, which is to keep the first fraction, flip the second, and change the sign, yeah? So always flip this fraction, change the sign. So doing this upside down, we're going to have a times, and then 6x squared minus 17x plus 5 all over 9x minus 4x cubed minus 4x cubed. Okay, now just like the previous one, guys, we want to try and always factorize this as much as possible. So the top half is going to be some kind of quadratic, and the bottom is going to be, well, you can pull out an x and factorize, yeah? So let's try to do this quick time. So the left side we can keep it the same for now, yeah? So I'm going to do like this notation, times. Now on the top half, let's have a look. A little common trick is here is that they usually pick a term which goes into both, yeah? That's kind of the aim. The aim is to try and reduce it. Now because you got 6x, my common idea is that it's probably going to have a 2x involved times a 3x. Why? Because you probably want to get rid of one of these terms. So let's just go with that, yeah? Let's call this 2x here. Let's call it 3x here. Now we need to figure out two numbers that multiply to make 5. Well, 5 is a prime number, so the only possibilities is 1 and 5. Now, to put in the right place, we need to ask ourselves, how do we make a 17? Well, because you got 2 and 3, we're going to either multiply one of these numbers by 2 or 3. I'm going to multiply, let's say, 5 by 3, yeah? If you multiply 5 by 3 and 1 by 2, you're going to realize that 5 times 3 is 15, 1 times 2 is 2. So adding up, you get 17. So this is telling us that we need to multiply 5 by 3, so 3 times 5, so that goes here, 3 times 5, and also 1 times 2, which is over here. And then, yeah, I mean, to be honest, we could also guess this because, again, one of them needs to have a minus 5, yeah? So I'm just going to go ahead and believe that this is 2x minus 5. And then this is, and to get it positive, it has to be minus 5 times minus 1. Now that part's done. Now for the second bit, you got 9x minus 4x cubed. Well, they both have an x in common, so let's pull out the x. So you can have x and then bracket 9 minus 4x squared. Now for this one, we have to instantly recognize here that this is not the same as a quadratic. This is the difference of two squares here. So this is literally part of the dots, D-O-T-S, dots. And that tells us that, well, when you factorize this one, so I'll just do it on the side, yeah? 9 minus 4x squared. This can be factorized as 2 brackets And to get the right answer, all you got to do is square root both of these terms, yeah? So these are two square numbers. To get the separate terms, we've got to square root them. So square root of 9 is going to be a 3. And the square root of 4x squared is just 2x. So 2x here and 2x here. And because you're square rooting, plus, minus. So yeah, that literally gets replaced over here. So replacing all of this one, we're going to now have 3 plus 2x and 3 minus 2x. All right, not bad, almost done. Yeah, so just get rid of this for a second. Okay, so now what we could do, I guess we can just copy this back here, right? Now we're going to see what's next. We're going to have 2x plus 3. We're going to have over 2x minus 3 and then 2x minus 5. All right, almost done. Almost done. It's quite a long question, isn't it? Now, because you're multiplying, you literally just stick in the fractions together. So you can kind of think of this as one big fraction of 3 terms and one big fraction at the bottom of 5 terms, yeah? Now, all you want to do is literally cross simplify, cut out the common terms, yeah? So looking at all of them, you always cut up and down. You can see 2x minus 5 will cancel with this. Let me change it to blue actually. You can also see that you got 2x plus 3. If you rearrange this one, this is just 2x plus 3 as well. That goes. And is that it? And I think that's it actually, yeah. So what are we left with now? We're now left with the top line of 3x minus 1. On the bottom line, we still got 2x minus 3. We have an x, so let me put that in front actually. And we also have 3 minus 2x. And yeah, guys, this is literally the end of the question. I think this is the last fraction you need. There is probably another step you can do, but this should be it, and this should get you 4 marks. Okay. All right, 25. Mario is going to save $50 in the year 2021. He's going to continue to save up to and including the year 2070 by increasing the amount he saves each year by $k. Okay, so what it's saying here, Mario starts with $50 that he saves, and every single year he's going to increase that amount by $k. Okay, so that's the common difference. Mario will save a total of $33,125 between those 2 years. Work out the value of k. Alright, so essentially guys, this is actually an arithmetic series question in disguise. And they gave us a little hint here, yeah? They told us that the first amount he's going to save would be 50, so A is 50. We know that it's going up in k's, so the difference, or the common difference is $k. And they told us that he will save a total. Now notice how they use the word total. This means that he's going to sum up all those money. So the sum of the first whatever number years is going to be $33,125. Now actually we can work out how many years this was. If we think of the year 21, yeah, so let's ignore the 2000, the year 21 as the first year, that means every year, so let's say 22, this would be the second year, we're eventually going to go up to the year 70. And well, if you just subtract 20, that would be the 50th year. So essentially, he's going to be saving up for 50 years. So n equals 50. Now, to solve this question, all we need to do is somehow relate the sum with everything we've got. Now, the good thing is, guys, that we're given the sum formula in the front of the formula sheet. Well, the sum formula looks like this. It says that Sn equals n over 2, and then big bracket, 2 times a plus n minus 1 times your common difference d. And yeah, and we just have to pop in all the values. So because we got majority of them, yeah, we can say that Sn is 33,125. So the left side would be 33,125. We know n is 50, so 50 divided by 2 is just 25. We know a was 50, so a is going to be 2 times 50, which is 100. We know n is 50, so 50 take a 1 is 49. And we got 49 times d, which is k, so it'll be 49k. So put a k here. And yeah, guys, that's it. All we got to do now is just expand this and solve. So looking at this step by step, we're going to have 33,125. Expanding this big bracket, we've got 25 times that, which is 2,500. plus the next one would be 25 times 49. That's just going to be 1225k. All right, and yeah, now all you got to do, guys, literally just what is it? It's just rearrange and make k the subject. So instead of just doing step by step, you can just put this in your calculator. So what I'll say, okay, to get k, subtract this quantity and divide it by 1225. It's going to be like something like 33,125 minus 2,500, and then divide that by 1225, and that should give us k. So putting this all in your calculator, you should get a k result, or a difference of $25 per year. And that's it, guys. So here is a sector AOB of a circle with center O, which is here, and an angle of x from AOB. All right. Now this sector can form the curved surface of a cone by joining OA to OB. So what it's trying to say here is that if you had this sector and you just twisted it around, so think of it like a fan, and you just twist it all the way around, you basically get a cone. Now we're given some dimensions of the cone. They tell us that the vertical height is 25, and they also tell us that the volume of this cone is 1600 centimeters. Okay, before we work out anything else, they give us some info. Let's try and find what we can, like the radius, yeah? Now for the volume for cone, this is actually given in the front of the book, yeah? So the volume of the cone is 1/3 of pi r squared h, okay? H is your height, r is your radius. Now what I would do is just pop in all the values and try and find the radius. What we have is 1600 equals 1/3 pi r squared times 25. Now to do this fast, literally just move 1/3 pi 25 across by dividing. So you can have 1600 over 1/3 pi times 25, and that's going to equal r squared. And well, because you just want to find r, you could just square root your answer. Just square root all of this. And when you do that, guys, you're going to end up with a radius of about, and try and keep it to like 4 significant figures, yeah? 7.812. All right, so that's cool. So this means that we're going to have a radius of this length of 7.812. Now the second thing here, guys, yeah, is that we can also work out the length of L, so which is the diagonal length. So we call this the curved length. So we can call this one L, yeah, and L here. Now to work out L, we can kind of see that we could use Pythagoras Theorem, because what we have here is like a right angle triangle between 25R and L. So if you think of these two as A and B, and L as your hypotenuse, we essentially have 25 squared plus R squared equals L squared, yeah? Since we know what R is, it's that value here, 7.812, you can just put all this in a calculator and then square root to find L. If you do that carefully, guys, you should get an L value of about 26.19, yeah? Again, always try and keep your answers to 4 sig figs, yeah? So, by the way, so all the results I'm showing you guys is just something I've been spending time with. This question I took about maybe 20 minutes to prepare because I had to really read through it as there is a lot of steps. So that's your R and L done. Now it tells us to work out the value of x, yeah? In other words, the angle x. Now what they really want us to do, guys, is somehow form an equation in terms of x that connects both of these shapes. Now one thing to note, guys, yeah? It says here that the sector can form the curved surface of a cone, in other words, the whole thing around, by joining OA to OB. Now just checking out for a second, A and B is here, but if you had to spin this around, you actually come back to a whole circle. So essentially, we can kind of think of this like the arc length here must be equivalent to this circumference. Because if you spun all of this around, you actually come back to the same point, which is the circumference. So in short, we can say that the arc length here is equal to the circumference. So let's write it down here. So we can say arc AB must equal the circumference of the circle. Now the arc length of AB is just simply, well, an arc length is calculated as the circumference of it. So think of it as 2 pi r. But instead of r, the radius is actually L, yeah? Because remember, we know that if we go from O to A and O to B, this is actually has a radius of L. Let's just put this as the radius. So if it's 2 pi r, it will be 2 pi L. So 2 pi L. And because it's a fraction of a circle, remember, it's not the whole circle. This is covering just an angle x of it. This would be 2 pi r L times x over 360, so a fraction of the whole circle, which is 360 degrees. And this is supposed to equal the circumference of this base circle on the cone, yeah? Well, the base circle is just 2 pi r. So it's going to equal 2 pi r. Now, we can, now essentially, you just got to make x a subject here. Well, before you do that, we can cancel 2 pi on both sides because we can divide them. And you're left with L times x over 360, which is just Lx over 360. And it's now going to equal just r. And well, guys, literally just make x a subject. And this is going to be something like, well, multiply 360 across and divide L. You're going to have x equals 360 times r over L. And you're done. And just pop in the values for r and L. Remember, r is 7.812 and L is 26.19. If you drop them in carefully, you should end up with an x value to the nearest whole number of 107 degrees. And that's it, guys. This is the end of the question. I hope this explanation helped. And yeah, it's a bit tricky at first. It took me quite a long time to try and understand it myself. If you guys got any questions, again, just drop me a comment and I'll do my best to help you out. So always, let me know. But other than that, guys, I hope you guys had a nice day and I shall see you guys in the next videos. Take care. I just want to thank you guys for coming to this end of my channel, and if you've enjoyed the content so far, just go onto my channel page, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for more notifications. And if you want, you can do personalized or all, and that way you won't miss any future maths or educational videos. Anyway guys, thank you for watching and see you next time. Ciao.